back on the camera again one more time. How the heck's it going? I got a comment on my page thing, and it says, "Hey Nick, what are your thoughts on what the bleep do we know? It's about quantum mechanics." Now, I always get a bit suspicious when spiritual people talk about this because it's so complicated. Have you read the Source Field Investigations by David Wilcock? What did you think about it? I think he had some pretty solid evidence that there is more than we can see, smell, taste, and touch. Well, let's try and look at your comment from the back end to the front end, so to speak. To say that there is more that we can see, smell, taste, and touch, that would have to be straightforward factual. The real physicists are saying that we got like dark matter and dark energy in the universe, and they have the ability to control the flow and movement of the planets and stars. As it was found that the stars and planets at the outside of galaxies were moving at roughly the same speed as those on the inside of galaxies, and that could only happen if there was extra mass in the universe, and therefore we can say that we can see the effects of massive gravity, which doesn't appear to be there physically speaking, so there must be something else creating it, and from that we get the ideas of dark matter. So there is already, according to the scientists, more than we can see, smell, taste, and touch, but we don't know enough about that, and that's a natural, normal, physical phenomena, let alone a spiritual, telepathic, and all the rest of it phenomena. Now, you mentioned David Wilcox. I haven't read much David Wilcox recently. I did previously, but I haven't done that recently. But I'll have to go back into that. But the idea of fields and morphic resonances and the rest of that, yes, there's all kinds of ideas about that, but essentially to what extent that is hard and fast and factual, it's very difficult to say, because a lot of these things that people say, they're hypotheses which hold together an argument. You could say that dark matter and dark energy are also hypotheses which hold together an argument. Okay, because we didn't know that much about dark matter and dark energy when the ideas were first created. It's only been since then there have been further experiments which have suggested that yes, these very tiny particles which can affect matter without affecting it all that much do seem to exist, and there have been some kind of ability to sense them through various forms of scientific experiment. So whether we can have a situation of just saying this is hypothetical, therefore we're going to see that as fact and tell other people it is fact or not, or whether we shouldn't, is a bit of a moot point. I would tell people that this is hypothetical when it's hypothetical. The fact that with dark matter they've come out with the idea that it was that there was a hypothetical explanation first, and then what they did was to do experiments to investigate it, and then it was proven or demonstrated to exist. Then they can say, yeah, you know, we've now got dark matter. But there is obviously much more to this universe than we actually know. Now, I think you're right to be a bit suspicious when spiritual people talk about quantum mechanics, because quantum mechanics is another model which is applied in this context because of its apparent explanatory power. But it's an apparent explanatory power. It's not necessarily an actual explanatory power, because we don't know all that much about how consciousness itself can interact with the rest of the universe. Now, obviously, we got hypotheses coming out of great people like Dean Radin and all the rest of that, but there's still questions here. It would make some sense that there is some kind of quantum entanglement or spooky action at a distance happening between consciousness, which is based upon, or at least no, let me rephrase that, brains, which is based upon patterns in electrical fields and chemical activity connected to patterns in electrical fields, which could possibly travel across distance. So essentially it's a question of patterns reproducing themselves over time or distance or space, maybe. And maybe that's the way that sympathetic magic works. Maybe that's the way that forms of spellcasting operate. But it's still maybe. It's not a question of certainly or 100% yes, we can say that reliably. Alright, so my thoughts on what the bleep do we know is that's a nice bit of hypothetical ramblings which someone has provided and sold, which has entered into the public consciousness, and people have bought it. Okay, and it's become another overlay of cult ideas within society, which has problems. So that's my point of view here.